start to finish is probably one of the biggest challenges any aspiring author has ever had to face in their life. It requires the utmost dedication, motivation, and discipline to push yourself every step of the way to complete your book. Perhaps this is why many writers drop out even before they get started. For those people, I want to say that every book that is not published could have probably gone on to become somebody's most favorite book ever. Now, today we have with us Mr. Amit Bagaria. Amit is a serial entrepreneur based out of Bangalore, an out of the box thinker, thought leader, and a marketing whiz. Yet, one of Amit's most impressive feats in life has nothing to do with his profession. Amit is a renowned author who has published not just one or two, but as many as 10 books in the span of just 3 years since 2017. Some of his well known work includes Demystifying Myths, I Spy, Usama, and Spies, Lies, and Red Tape, all of which are currently in the top five best selling ranks in their category on Amazon. Amit, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for taking the time to have a chat with me.
Thanks, Sushant. My pleasure also. Just letting you know that, you all may be suffering the rain, but we are suffering the cold Arctic weather here in Bangalore.
Oh,
It's
wow.
uh,
I've been hearing, yeah.
probably the coldest 2611 that I have seen in my life.
Wow. I hope that doesn't affect your the mood for your interview for this interview. Right. So I just want to get started right away. You started your writing career in 2017 with your first book, but your passion for writing, though, started much earlier than that, right? When you actually studied journalism in the US. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey that led you to this point?
Well, actually, it started even before the US. When I was in high school here in Bangalore in Bishop Cotton School, in class 11, I was the editor of the school newspaper called Bishop Gabs.
All right.
And in class 12, I was the editor of co-editor
All
with,
right.
with Tarun Khanna, who's now a professor at Harvard Business School. I was co-editor of the uh, the yearbook called The Catonian. So the writing journey actually started in class 11. Uh,
Wow.
then, of course, yes, in university in the US, where I was studying communications, they didn't have a degree for journalism. Journalism was only a specialization. The degree was communications. Um, I just walked into the editor in chief's office, the school newspaper's editor in chief's office, and said that, "Look, this is what I did in high school, and I'd like to write." So he
Mm-hmm.
said, "Okay, there are student union elections are around the corner, and I'll give you an opportunity to go meet the candidates, interview them, submit a story. If we like it, we'll publish it." Well,
Right.
not only did he like the story, he put it on front page.
Oh, wow.
I went on to win in my first semester in that university. I went on to win the Journalist of the Year award, and then immediately I was promoted to news editor, which means that the front page was my responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So writing has been a passion. After coming back to India, in whichever sector I was involved in, the two longest sectors that I was involved in, first was healthcare.
Right.
That was for about 11 years. I wrote for a lot of healthcare specialized publications, including four books, one of
Mm-hmm.
which is a college textbook on hospital planning, even today,
Mm-hmm.
and also for a weekly magazine that the Indian Express used to publish at that time. I don't know if they still publish it, called Indian Express Healthcare Management.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, After that, I moved on to real estate and retail, where I was there for about 13, 14 years. I wrote for the Economic Times, I wrote for DNA, and a lot of other specific, retail specific uh, monthly magazines and annual publications.
Right.
So, writing has been there, although it's not been full time. And I did contribute a chapter to the hospital planning book, but my first book, uh, which I submitted to you all, to which I submitted to Notion Press, was I began writing it exactly 3 years ago, like you said, 3 years.
Yeah.
So I began writing it in November 2017, but I actually submitted it in
Sure.
in March 2018.
Okay.
So yeah, after that, it's been 9 more books since then.
Right.
And just
I think it's really interesting because one thing is having the passion to like wanting to write, and you've actually carried it forward to every industry that you've been part of. You've actually been able to sort of implement that passion of yours, and but it's also a huge thing to from going from writing, contributing chapters, and so on to publishing to where you are right now, where you've published 10 books, right? You're an author of 10 published books. And you managed to do that while also balancing out your other career. Your career as a, like you mentioned, you were in a consultant in the retail sector, in the real estate sector, in the healthcare sector. So, how did you manage to keep writing and balancing your professional life on the other hand?
well, when I started writing books, healthcare was over a long time ago. I was just a consultant in
Mhm.
the real estate and retail sectors, and
Right,
also I was running a social media opinion polling company.
right,
Um, but I started, frankly, I started winding that down. I found trying to match both the professions very, very difficult and very, very challenging,
hmm,
uh, too tiring. So I would say that, I think within 5 to 6 months of my first book getting published,
hmm,
uh, I wound down all business where I had employees who I had to manage. I
right,
continued with some consulting as an individual,
mm,
which I still continue till today. But
hmm,
that takes a few hours a month, not more than that, because I'm established in the real estate and retail sector.
right,
I make a decent sum. Some people pay me on a half day basis. Some people even pay me on an hourly basis, and
mm,
I manage with few clients. The only sort of business responsibility that I have today is managing investments, which
right,
takes up 10 to 12% of my time.
hmm,
The the rest of my time, I mean, about 35 to 40% of my time today is spent in writing, and about 30 to 35% in reading.
oh wow.
Uh, so
So, do you have a schedule or something that you put down for yourself through the day that you follow rigorously, or is it just something, because you are really passionate about writing, so it just comes naturally to you that every day you sit and write no matter what?
uh, actually, I work on a very different sort of time cycle than most normal human beings.
Okay.
I work on a 24/12 time cycle. So I'm awake for 24 hours and I sleep for 12 hours.
Okay.
When I'm awake for 24 hours, obviously those 24 hours include working through the night. And I
Right.
find that to be the easiest in in doing both reading and writing,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't have to speak to anyone else or interact with anyone else for that.
Mm.
Uh, it's only when the cycle shifts to the 24 hours where most of the awake time is during the day is when
Mm-hmm.
I will do something on marketing or do something with my investments, etc.
Right. I
So
think,
that's
yeah.
the usual kind of cycle that I work on. It does get disturbed once in a while, especially when you go on a holiday or something. Last
Mm-hmm.
holiday was more much before COVID. Uh, Sometimes maybe a little get together or something in a weekend disturbs that pattern. But
Mm-hmm.
usually I work on this 24/12 cycle. So it helps me to you know concentrate a lot
Absolutely.
without disturbance in reading and writing.
Right, and it's really interesting because in the nighttime you can sort of at least shut yourself off from rest
Yeah.
of the world, and that you need that kind of focus while writing books, especially the kind of books that you've written, right? Which brings me to my next question. In the 10 books that you've written, there is a clear theme that's kind of common. Like 1914, Namo O Mona is about a brief history of electoral India. Demystifying Myths is a book about that answers critical questions about the history of politics. And So these are all books that sort of require a lot of research, right? So how do you go about allocating time for that research? And I've seen your books, right? And I've seen a few of them. I've read a few of them. These are not just like small books, 100 or 200 pages or 150 pages. These are like comprehensive books that you've written with a lot of research that actually goes in on it. So how do you find the time to do that research that's so critical to writing books like these?
So, so, so before I answer that, the one important point that I want to bring across is that I only write on subjects that I'm knowledgeable about.
Yeah.
There have been number of people, either personally known or professionally known, who keep saying, "Oh, write a children's book, do this, do that, etc., etc." And I have tried to read some of these children's books or self-help books. Even your founder Naveen has told me a lot of time, write a book on self-help, something,
Business.
etc., etc. Yeah, but I find that I'm unable to write on a subject in which I have no knowledge.
Yeah.
So, just
Fair
bring
enough.
that point, that I only have written and continue to write on subjects that I have an understanding of. Uh, Coming to directly answering your question, so like I said, about 30-35% of my time is spent on reading.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the research part uh, basically consists of reading.
Mm-hmm.
There is, of course, sometimes you have to talk to people, interview people.
Yeah.
Most of the time, because of the kind of books that I've written, the people cannot be quoted. They want to,
Absolutely.
be anonymous, but at least one is able to get some information out of
Mhm.
them. I mean, even in the book I Spy that I wrote, I spoke with uh, retired people from intelligence agencies, including Mossad of Israel and
Mhm.
CSIS of Canada and CIA and others.
Mhm.
Obviously, they were not willing to be quoted,
Yeah.
but that the speaking with people part is a small part of it. The bigger part of it is reading. So I travel a lot to college campuses to talk about my books and answer questions of
Mhm.
students who are aspiring authors, and they always ask me. And a lot of time, even journalists have asked this question. I always say that to write 10,000 words, you have to read 50,000 words.
That's true. Yeah.
Like,
That's.
I'm doing research. I'm just about finishing my 11th book, which is a non-fiction book.
Mhm.
This has been the longest exercise. This is now, I started writing this book. It's on politics again,
Mhm.
but it's on current politics and not on historical politics, current Indian politics. Um, the the book is called End of Congress question mark, uh, and the subtitle is How Modi is Reshaping India. I started writing this book uh, in August of 2019, just after the election results of the 2019 elections came out.
Mhm.
And, at that time, I sort of foresaw that, okay, this, the Congress party may not have a future.
Right.
And I thought it's going to be very simple. I thought I'm going to take 5-6 months, maybe 8 months to finish the book max. But we are in November 2020, and I still haven't finished it, because every week something new happens. Uh, either Congress tries to climb one more floor to commit suicide, or Modi does something better to climb up the ladder. So I keep extending the deadline. I keep telling myself, and I've written it in the preface, that I'm going to end this book on 31st August or uh, 30th September or whatever date, but it keeps getting extended.
Oh.
Similarly, I'm parallelly. It gets a little boring sometimes in writing only nonfiction, so I'm
Mhm.
parallel working on uh, the sequel to my best-selling
Wise.
fiction thriller, Spice, Lies, and Red Tape, and I've already got about 40 pages of notes written
Mhm.
uh, for that book.
Right.
So the thing that I follow and I advise uh, new authors also is that if you've got some vague idea that you're going to write a book about some topic in the future,
Mm-hmm.
whenever you read something that is connected to that topic, keep a diary, either on your phone or on your tablet or laptop. I do it by hand.
Right.
Uh, so because you can't carry a laptop everywhere, and I don't really like taking notes on the phone because
Mm-hmm.
it's small width, etc. So I usually carry this diary around, and whenever I read something or come across something which may help me in a future book, I just make a note
Right.
of it so that I can refer to it in the when I'm actually writing that book.
Hmm. I think it's really important because this part is I have seen at least when it comes to non-fiction books in the Indian market. That is, there is it's not always substantiated with a lot of research. That's something that's very common in the books, maybe in the US market, in the Western markets. There's a lot of research that goes on. There's a lot of focus on the research to prove whatever the topic, the concepts they're talking about in the book. But I still see that something that's missing in the Indian market a lot. And you have actually done that really well in all of your books. In fact, substantiated with a lot of research. And it takes, like you mentioned, you need to read up a lot more and consume a lot of content before you can actually write on these particular subjects as well. That's a really interesting point that you brought out there.
I'll give you an example. I'm very concerned about making a mistake, and I'll give you an example in demystifying myths. I don't know whether it was my writing error or whether it was just something that slipped. But there was something mentioned in the book about Hitler being responsible for the death of 2 million Jews.
Okay.
In a book reading session that I was having at a book club here in Bangalore,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of members pointed out that that was a mistake because Hitler was responsible for the death of 6 million Jews. Immediately the next day, I contacted Anas at support at Notion Press, and
Mm-hmm.
I said I want to change uh, a figure in
Yeah.
demystifying myths so that the next print copy doesn't have that mistake.
Right. And it's also like, I guess, in our system, it's really easy to make sure that the next copy that actually goes out, you know, goes
With
out with the
print on
correct.
demand, yes, it's easy. But if you've already got 1,000 or 2,000 or
Mm.
whatever number of offset copies, then
Yeah,
can't
that
really.
is a problem. Yeah. Well, I also wanted to ask you one thing. You know, if you're writing 10 books in the span of 3 years, that's at least more than 3 books in a year, right? So, was there ever a point where you had to work on multiple books at the same time, or did you do it more sequentially?
So, good question there, Sushant. So the one of the books that I wrote, uh, it's called Mr. President, Yes, Prime Minister.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, 80% of the content of that book was already there in Demystifying Myths.
Mm-hmm.
The gist of the book was there, maybe not 80%, but the gist of the book was there. And when my son read Demystifying Myths, he said, Dad, you can actually write a whole book on the comparison between the Indian parliamentary system and the US
Mm-hmm.
president. So I didn't have to spend all that much time in writing Mr. President, Yes, Prime Minister, because the gist was there. I had just to expand on it.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly, when I wrote the book Rafael, 80% or 90% of that book was already covered in my first book,
Mm-hmm.
1914, Namo or Mona.
Yeah.
So again, I just had to sort of, expand on that a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
in reality, it was not 10 books. I would say that it's 8.5 books
Right.
because one and a half uh, were sort of already written.
Yeah, and I guess it's also acceptable because if you're writing 10 books in one particular category or theme rather or subject, there is bound to be a lot of overlap as well,
Yeah,
and yeah, that's always going to happen.
including there is overlap between Osama and I Spy. because the largest chapter in iSpy, which only has 20 chapters, the largest chapter is about the CIA. Now,
Right.
all of the CIA information was already there in Osama,
Hmm.
so that did help.
It's very interesting. So, moving on, I want to ask you, the one other thing about you is it's not just, of course, you've published 10 books in 3 years, but it's not just all about publishing books and putting it in the market. You've also sold close to 20,000 copies of your book, of your various books in that time, and with many of your books actually going on to topping the charts on Amazon. So, how do you allocate time for the marketing side of things?
So my social media, I don't handle myself. It's outsourced to a bunch of youngsters a couple of youngsters who do that. Uh,
Hmm.
the other thing I've been able to do over the last 3 years, is I've been able to collect this 60 or 70 social media influencers,
Right.
uh, and they sort of help with writing reviews or posting on websites or on blogs or uh, Instagram, etc., etc.,
Hmm.
which helps to sell the books. The
Right.
other thing that I've really made an effort, which I think most self-published authors don't do, is that my books are today available in 55 bookstores,
Right.
and I also uh, do a lot of book fairs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Also do about 8 college campus visits a year. So what happens is, in each of these college campus visits, there is anywhere between 300 to 500 students, sometimes even 1,000 students, who uh,
Hmm.
come across where the books are displayed.
Hmm.
So that gives a lot of exposure.
Right. Again, very interesting because I think we first met at the Delhi Book Fair again, and then I've seen you, physically take the time off to like attend various book fairs across the country actually, and it's really tells something because a lot of authors don't want to put in the hard work when it comes to physically promoting their books across all channels. They might, they obviously go behind the digital platforms, social media, and so on, because it's more fancy, and also it's lesser work. It's easier to reach people, is at least the mindset of the author. But you, on the other hand, you've focused on all the channels available to you: bookstores, social media, book fairs, all of it, and in like college campuses and so on.
Well, a lot of the authors that you're speaking about are people who have other regular full-time jobs or professions, right? So I won't blame them if they don't have the time to physically make an appearance at a college campus or at a book fair.
Right.
Uh, since I have eased all of that work out of my schedule, I'm able
Hmm.
to spend a lot more time doing this.
Absolutely. And another thing that you really mentioned was, the outsourcing part of, the social media and so on. It's also like, very critical because promoting a book and like building your book, across all channels, it's almost like building a business. That's why we call, people who are very involved with their marketing, we call them entrepreneurs, right? Uh,
Right.
if as any entrepreneur would do, if there you can't control all of these things on your own, you have to like probably outsource it. Not just, I'm not talking about just outsourcing it to an agency or something like that. I'm talking about like getting some people on board that can really help you out with
Dedicated
some
people,
aspect.
I'll give you an example. I do Amazon marketing also on AMS, and even that is outsourced. It's outsourced to somebody who's been in the book industry for the last 6 years.
Right.
So the guy understands the book world, he understands book marketing and book sales.
Mhm.
Now, the amount of time he spends on AMS in rejigging keywords or phrases or
Yeah,
whatever, there is no way that I either have the knowledge on how to do that correctly, or
hmm,
I have the time to do that. So,
absolutely.
uh, so the outsourcing works very well,
Yeah,
and believe me, it's not expensive. It's really worth it.
absolutely. And it's an investment for the success of your book, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Amit. It was fascinating to learn from someone who has done everything that you have managed to do in the book market. I hope to see your next books out real soon. Thank you again for joining me. It was great learning from you.
My pleasure. Bye bye.
All right.